What is going on, everybody? It is Poke, and if you're new here, this is 863 Digital Media, a brand new channel of mine. I want to be doing gaming, movies, other sports, boxing, all kind of things. Anyway, today, what I want to give you a movie review on the movie Antlers, a movie that I have personally been I was very anxious, very excited to see this movie. I have been looking forward to this movie ever since it got canceled due to the pandemic. This is a spoiler review. So I will be going over spoilers. We'll try to keep it relatively short, but this will have heavy spoilers. I'll pretty much be telling you what happened. So if you don't want to watch that, please, I advise you don't watch this video. If you do want to watch it, hey, you're in the right place. Antlers. Antlers is a movie that takes place in Oregon, in like a small mining town, and it involves a Wendigo. If you don't know what a Wendigo is, we're not going to go into any deep details, but this is like a Native American spirit. And what I want to go over is what I want to start with is what I really liked about this movie, because ultimately I feel like this is a two I feel like this is almost two movies in one when you watch this movie. And I enjoyed the first half of it a lot because the first half is very tense in my opinion. It keeps you on the seat of your it keeps you on the edge of your seat. It keeps you sort of glued to the screen of knowing, potentially knowing what may happen next, or wanting to see what happens next. And what this movie does brilliantly, in my opinion, is it makes you feel big emotion from the for the I'm gonna call him the main character. The main character really is this. So the big characters in this movie is a young boy and his family of a brother and a father, and then his teacher and her family, which involves her brother and her father. Those are like the main. That's the main characters here. The teacher is really the main character of the movie, but for me, it's the young child. And this movie, in my opinion, does an amazing job of really making you feel the desperation. I don't even know if that's the word, but just the despair of this young kid. Like, you really feel bad for this. At least I did. Like, I'm watching this movie and I felt like I wanted to hug this kid at some point. Just go on the screen and get him out of the situation that he's in. So, quick rundown of this story, and then we'll get into really why I like and don't like, or. But the quick rundown basically is young boy, father, meth dealer in an old abandoned mine in Oregon, run into the Wendigo, which seemed to be sealed off in this mine, and runs into the spirit. He gets possessed, kills his partner who he makes meth with, eats him, and goes home with his two sons. Eventually begins to transform into the Wendigo, seals himself in the attic where he builds locks on the door, tells his son, "Don't ever come in here." The youngest son gets sick, tells his dad. Dad snatches the youngest son in the attic with him. Now two Wendigos are in the attic because the youngest son is, I guess, in order to cure the sickness. They never specify what sickness, anyway, by the way. I guess the demon possesses him, or the spirit possesses him, and here we are. Teacher, to the quick backstory on this teacher, she was abused as a young girl by her father, who lost his wife, her mother. Her mother dies. After her mother dies, dad goes into deep depression and reverts to using his daughter to satisfy his needs that his wife no longer can. Yeah, dad becomes a real sick man. And so she was abused. This who now she's grown up. Her and her brother were abused as kids. She runs away from that situation, leaves her brother with the father. Her brother kind of grows up resenting her. While he still loved her and wished she would have always came back, he resents the fact that he was left there with that man. But as a young girl, you could understand why she had to run from that situation. Anyway, but she's living back in Oregon with her brother, who's now the sheriff. That's the quick rundown of kind of what we got going on here. Anyway, the teacher notices that this young boy, is coming to school every day, very distant from the other kids, very reserved, quiet, just he doodles in his notepad all day, right? He does all these things. She notices because she herself abused, kind of notices these warning signs of abuse, and begins to sort of pry, because as a teacher, she cares, and she begins to sort of pry and get into this young man's business, notices his drawings and sees that these are graphic images of some creature that's eating animals, and a lot of blood and gore in these pictures that this young boy is drawing. And of course, this young boy has a bully who torments him every day. He's like, bro, it's not enough that this kid's living with two demons in his attic, who he, by the way, this kid routinely has to go fetch like roadkill and other types of meat to feed his family. Um, he is taking care of demons in the attic while still attending school every day, and he's getting bullied. Again, they do an amazing job of really making you feel sympathy for this kid, and the young actor did a great job, by the way. So I would honestly, I give it an A+ for that. That is what I love about the first half of this movie. It's not until, again, as this teacher continues to pry, she gets other people involved, gets the counselor involved. The counselor eventually goes to the house, only to discover, first she notices foul smell, goes all the way to the attic, only to discover the young boy in the attic. But that is where she gets attacked by Dad. After Dad eats her, Dad does now at this point, Dad is still human looking. Imagine, what's the movie? Like, imagine uh World War Z, and the way the zombie looked in that scene at the end when they're in the lab and he's trying to get the virus or whatever. Dad kind of looks like that, like his skin, except his skin is like translucent almost, and he's a pale zombie looking guy. After he eats this lady, he goes full on Wendigo, transforms into the famous depiction of the Wendigo, and it's here where he escapes. He escapes the house. He goes on some killing. He does some killings. Kills the bully, who one day follows the young boy home as he's going home in the woods, and because this young boy, right, which is something I didn't mention, he walks like, I don't know, it's got to be 30 miles home every single day, through town, through the woods, all the way to home. And of course, one day the bully follows him. Wendigo's in the woods, and Wendigo tears this boy to shreds, the bully. So people end up missing. The counselor's missing, the young boy, people are ending up missing, and they're reporting to the sheriff. That's how this whole investigation kind of starts, right? That's kind of where we're at here. Basically, long story short, the as the teacher obviously takes a liking to this kid, and wants to help this kid. She knows it's abuse, but doesn't quite understand the depths of what she's getting herself involved in. This is where the movie kind of loses you. They go talk to the former sheriff, who's lived in this town all this time and knows exactly what this entity is, what's it called. He's Native American, by the way, and how to defeat it. All just like that. They know everything about the Wendigo in the snap of a finger. They learn everything there is to know about a Wendigo. How to kill it, how to do this, how to do that. And as soon as by the way, as soon as the old sheriff, the retired sheriff, sees the things that he sees, he knows exactly what it is. Like, it's, again, it gets kind of tropey, I guess, like kind of typical monster movie ish. That again kind of loses you there. Um. Anyway, end of the story. This thing, they eventually track this thing to the mine. In the mine, they find the Wendigo and both boys, but because by the way, the younger son is going with the dad, obviously, and the older son is also trying to follow his family. He's still, despite the Wendigo being the Wendigo and killing, he doesn't seem to kill the older son. Like he's not as attached to the younger one as he is to the older one, or he's more attached to the younger one than he is to the older one. But he doesn't go do any. They don't show a point in the movie where he's ever really violent towards the older son. Like if almost he still knows. And anyway, they follow him to the mine. Of course, in an abandoned mine, there they are, and they defeat him with a stab in the heart. And it's at this point the younger one begins to turn, and they have to kill the younger one. But of course, the older brother is like, no, 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 that's the only family I've got left in this world. So she has to convince him, and then she does the honors. And it's, because the younger boy is still a boy, though he's turning, it's a very easy kill. Kind of like goes up to hug him and says she's sorry and does what she has to do. And then at the end, very end of the movie, come to find out the spirit may have been passed on to her brother. Her brother seems to be turning into a Wendigo. It's a lake scene. He ends up coughing up blood. Long story short here, there's a message to this whole movie. I might not be the best at giving you the full rundown here of that story. Again, go see the movie if you haven't, and you'll understand what I'm saying. We're gonna talk about the message of this movie, and then I'm gonna talk about what I like, didn't like, grades, and then we're gonna get out of here. The message of this movie seems to be the message that I gathered from this movie was the addiction or substance abuse. Very drug related because the Wendigo first inhabits a drug dealer, a meth dealer, and what I didn't mention is that the sheriff seems to have a pill addiction, like a painkillers. He's popping painkillers. We see him eating, like chewing painkillers at one point during the movie. Obviously, they show plenty, and they show plenty of scenes of the teacher who went through her own child abuse. She seemed to at one point either be an alcoholic or is a recovering alcoholic, because they show multiple scenes of her going to like a convenience store, staring at bottles of alcohol but never buying it, but really being tempted to. So the message of this movie is about substance abuse, is what I got from it. And because at the very end, the sheriff seems to have been possessed because he starts coughing up blood, and if you early in the movie, that's like a symptom. You cough blood and you bleed from your eyes, almost like you're crying tears of blood. And he begins to do that at the very end of the movie before the credits roll. So that's kind of the main story there. What I liked about this movie is simple. I like the fact that I like the first half. I like how desperate they made that boy's situation. I believe if the entire movie had been just about that young man and his how you see a situation like that through his eyes, I think you would have had a really, really good movie. The second half loses me because it becomes this monster flick of a chase, and then you're fighting a creature, and the scenes of the Wendigo, he looks cool. I'll give them that. He looks cool, but the actual plot becomes kind of stupid in my opinion. Overall, though, I enjoyed Antlers. This is my first movie review, guy, so I appreciate you. I'll get better at this as we go. But overall, man, I enjoyed Antlers, and but I really enjoyed that first half, and the second half kind of not so much. I would give Antlers a solid 5 or 6 out of 10. I'll give Antlers a solid 5.5. I think there's some things to enjoy, some things that you may enjoy this whole thing. Some people may love it, some people may hate it. Again, the first half of this movie really had me on the edge of my seat. I thought it was very tense. And again, it made me really feel sympathy for this kid. Even at the end, when he realizes he has to his younger brother has to be killed. Even that part, I'm like, God, this kid's been through all of this and now this. So that's the best part of the movie for me. So yeah, man, thank you. If you sat here through the whole video, man, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please. More content like this to come. This is my first movie, man. But 863 Digital Media signing out. See you guys next time.